Are you ready to discover the secret to the most decadent chocolate pie ever tasted? In this video, we are diving into the world of chocolate and revealing some secret ingredients that will take your pie from basic yummy to rich, bold, and decadent. So keep watching. We're gonna put the filling in a graham cracker crust. Chocolate and graham crackers go so beautifully together. We'll top it with some whipped cream, lightly sweetened, and garnish with some chocolate shavings. Yummy! We're gonna make our graham cracker crust. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 350. We wanna bake the crust and then have it cooling while we make our chocolate filling. We need 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs. You can use a food processor, which I'm gonna do if you have one. If you do not have a food processor, no problem. One thing you can do is run to the store. They actually sell graham cracker crumbs in a box. Magic. You can also put these crackers in a Ziploc bag and just kind of break them up with a rolling pin. Either way, you need 1.5 cups of crumbs. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the food processor. Just break them up a little bit. You're looking for a texture that looks like sand. Just want you to see nice, fine. If you're doing it by hand, you want to make sure this is the consistency that you get. So put your 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs into a medium-sized bowl. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of sugar, that's 45 grams. And then 1/3 cup of melted butter. Let's see here. The mixture will start to look like wet sand. You can see that. That's when it's ready to go into the pie dish. So we're going to put this in the center of a pie dish. Get it in the general area. We're going to press it on the bottom and up the sides of this dish. I usually use my hands first, and then I actually use a measuring cup, something that has flat edges, just to do the final pressing. You want to make sure that we get it into the edges. And I just go the whole way around. Just take your time, press it in there. This will shrink while it's baking, I'm just telling you now. It starts up here, it will be a little lower when it comes out. That is perfectly normal. You want to make sure you're putting a fairly decent amount of pressure when you're pressing it, because you want to make sure it is like pressed together. That'll keep it from crumbling as much when you actually get it out of the oven and you're working with it and when you go to cut your pie. I'm just pressing the bottom a little. And this is what it should look like. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. Again, it's at 350 for 10 minutes. In the oven it goes. So while our crust is baking, we're gonna go ahead and get a couple things prepared. We need to separate 3 eggs. We need 3 yolks, and we're gonna put those in a heat-proof bowl and whisk them. Put the eggs in our bowl. Whisk them just until they're smooth, and then we're going to put them aside. This is for our filling. The next ingredient we need is chocolate. This is the star of the show. I want to help you learn how to pick the best chocolate for your baked goods. The first thing you want to do is pick a premium baking chocolate. This is not the time to find something cheaper, less expensive. You want to find premium chocolate, even if it costs a little more, it'll be worth it. The next thing you want to do is pay attention to the cacao percentage. It should be visibly available on the front of the package. If it's not, that's a good indicator that there's not a lot of cacao in it. You want to make sure that you're hitting in the range of 50 to 80%. The higher the cacao percentage means less sugar and more rich and complex flavor from the cacao bean. The cacao bean is what's ground into a paste and then it's made into chocolate that we use today. This is the purest form of chocolate. In order to call something chocolate, the FDA minimum requirement is 10%, which is not very much. So if you think of like a Hershey bar, if you're tempted to use that, it has that minimum 10% cacao in it. Most of it is sugar and milk, so basically it's candy. That is definitely going to change the texture and the whole makeup of your baked goods. So you want to make sure you don't use something like that. And the other thing would be, don't be tempted to use chocolate chips. They have an additive in them to make them stable. They are designed to not change their shape when they're baked. So trying to melt them into your mixture and get them smooth is not going to be very easy. Again, just focus on finding a premium baking chocolate, and you want to focus in on that percentage of cacao. 50% to 80%, somewhere in there is a good range, and I have chosen semi-sweet. For this recipe, you need 4 ounces of finely chopped chocolate that is 113 grams. Once you have your chocolate chopped up, I'm just going to use a bench scraper here. These are very handy for things like this. And we're going to put it in a dish and put it aside. So let's get to our filling. We're going to add 1 cup of sugar, which is 227 grams, into a medium saucepan. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, which is 24 grams. This is what thickens the mixture. We want to make sure it's all in there. Next, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cocoa, which is so cool. This is 100% cacao, natural and unsweetened. I have a leveler here. This is 6 grams. We're going to whisk this for smoothness. Cocoa powder tends to have a lot of lumps in it, and so we just want to make sure we're getting most of those now. I see a lot of little lumps in there. Get it as smooth as we can. And now let's talk our secret ingredients. If you haven't guessed it by now, it's coffee. These are espresso beans. Coffee and chocolate have very similar characteristics, and they pair beautifully together in baked goods. Chocolate is sweet, coffee is bitter, and they balance each other beautifully. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of espresso powder. When used strategically, coffee acts as a secret ingredient that elevates the chocolate flavor in baked goods, making it richer, deeper, and more complex without tasting like coffee. I'm going to give that a little stir, and then we're going to add our last secret ingredient, a pinch of flaky sea salt. I'm going to stir that salt in. The salt actually enhances the flavor of the chocolate and balances and refines the sweetness. We're going to add 3 cups of whole milk. This is 750 milliliters. This is at room temperature. I'm going to add just a portion of it in, not the whole thing. I want to stir this mixture until it's smooth. This is all about just getting this mixture smooth and creamy. I'm going to just whisk it. It'll start to look silky and chocolatey. Once you get it to this consistency, then you can go ahead and add the rest of the milk in. Now we're going to put this on medium heat and bring it to a boil. You want to whisk constantly so that it doesn't stick or burn to the bottom of the pan. So our mixture is beginning to boil. We're going to let this boil for 1 minute and then we'll remove it from the heat. Now we're going to temper the eggs. And what you want to do is just pour a thin stream of the mixture into the eggs slowly. Basically what we're doing is raising the temperature of the egg yolks gently so that they don't cook. So that's nice and smooth and it's warm. You can see the steam coming off of it. And now into this mixture, we're going to add our chopped chocolate. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm going to whisk this until it's smooth. It should just melt down very nicely. You can see it's starting to take on a nice dark, rich chocolate color. It's silky. Now we're going to add the egg mixture in. Make sure we get all of that out. The cornstarch and the egg yolk are the 2 things that will thicken this mixture. That is so pretty. Now we're going to return it to the heat, bring it to a boil again. It'll start boiling very quickly because it's already really hot. We're going to boil it for about 1 minute and then we'll add in our butter and vanilla and this is done. I'm adding 1 tablespoon of butter for smooth and creaminess. Stir it until it's incorporated. And 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. Once this is all stirred in, we're going to take it and put it right into our cooled pie crust. The finishing step is to put the filling in our graham cracker crust. This is silky, chocolatey, beautiful, yummy. I can't think of any more wonderful adjectives to use. And I'm just going to smooth it just a bit. Get it to the edges. We're going to cover the surface of the pie with plastic wrap. You want to put it right on the surface. Press it onto the filling. This will keep it from forming a skin, and I promise it'll come right off. Once this pie is cool and set, it peels right off. This needs to refrigerate anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. I will say this is a great pie to make the day before. You can pull it out of the fridge and then just make your topping for on it. The pie is set, it chilled for about 6 hours, so we're gonna go ahead and do our final step, which is making whipped cream. You wanna put 1 cup of nice cold whipping cream in a medium-sized bowl. That is 237 milliliters. 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. This is 25 grams. You can also use granulated sugar if you don't have powdered sugar. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm using a handheld mixer. You can use a stand mixer if that's what you prefer, fitted with a whisk attachment. I usually just give this a little stir so that the powdered sugar doesn't fly all over the place. Then we're gonna just turn it on to about a medium speed because it's very splashy and messy at first until it starts getting a little thick. This will take about 3 to 4 minutes. I'm going to increase the speed a little. When the beaters start making a trail in the whipped cream, that's when you want to just stop and check it and see where you are. You don't want to overbeat your mixture. This is actually making some soft peaks right now. So we're going to keep going. Just a little more. There. And there we have stiff peaks. So we just pulled this pie out of the fridge. I'm going to go ahead and take the saran wrap off. Remember, I promised you the plastic wrap would not stick. It's time to put the finishing touches on our chocolate pie. We're going to put our whipped cream on top. I'm getting it right to the very edge of the crust, not covering the crust. And I usually just put some swirls in it just for a beauty effect. So this is optional, but I like to put little shavings of chocolate, just something to make some color on the top of the whipped cream. So you want to just take a vegetable peeler and just slide down across the edge of the bar. And it's creating these teeny little curls. They're super cute. Do that a few times. It's making nice little curls. So just gently handle them. That maybe is a better way to do it. And look how pretty. So it's time to cut the pie. I hope you enjoyed learning more about chocolate and how to make this yummy pie. I put a link in the description below for the recipe for this. If you're enjoying learning how to make pies, check out my pie playlist. See you in the next video.